Good evening, everybody. We are raging with Daphne Lage again because we love her. This is episode
Three's a charm.
56. Three's a charm, maybe four or five. I don't know. It is like Daphne Lage Infinity. We don't care
Well,
because we
at
love
least
her.
15. At least 15 issues.
So this is Raging With. We're going to be right back after our intro. Make sure that you are subscribing to our YouTube channels. We are simulcasting to Geek Insider as well as Raging ABC. Hit the button. It's not that hard, you guys. Seriously. And as soon as I find my intro, we'll be right back after that.
Raging.
Good evening, everybody. So, we are very happy to have you here, and we appreciate everyone who is tuning in, whether you're watching live or on the replay. We are Raging with Daphne Lage. I'm going to drop the card here and say hello.
Hey, hello.
Hello.
Everybody.
What were we just talking about before we went live?
I guess the long video that you
Yeah, no. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. It's like those impact things.
Right.
And why you abuse your characters so much?
Right. Especially lately.
I know. And it's kind of funny because I see, because we obviously follow each other on Facebook, and we see your doodles and stuff. Yeah. And there's Egoraven with a dagger to the chest.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's that about, Daphne? You having a day? You having a day? What's up with that?
Oh yeah, there's a whole thing with that. Yeah, there's a whole thing. But the thing is though, it started off as a goof on the needle scene in Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know. It's like I just had this image in my head, and I just thought it was really funny. And it's like, it's like I get, and then it's like on top of it, it's like, oh well. Again, it's like for the audience, I share my office with a parrot, and he always loves to start acting up whenever I'm on a live stream. So if you hear any weirdness in the background, that's him. So yeah, it's like for some reason I had this thing stuck in my head where it's like, oh, the needle scene from Pulp Fiction. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, I go, oh, it would just be really funny if Egoraven was in it. And it's like, and what better way to kind of like portray her immortality with a dagger sticking out of her chest,
just like walking around.
Yeah, like it's an inconvenience. So I did that, and then all of a sudden it's like I started playing around more with the idea, and then it's like, and then what happened was that a story started building around it. So on our previous episodes, I talked a lot about how I do a lot of these little prose vignettes to kind of like organize my thoughts and get some ideas out and hash out some things that, either eventually gets put in the story, in the main story, or I'm going to do like little shorts that add to the story, but I couldn't add it to the main storyline because it would bog everything down. So this turned into one of these things. So it started off with Pulp Fiction. It started off with this whole thing with Egoraven with the dagger. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, how do we get to this point? How did we get to this point? And then it's like, I'm currently working on a short story where these, she's summoned to the king's palace to I guess like to welcome dignitaries and and other prominent lords from surrounding kingdoms, and two of the lords happened to be serial killers.
Oh, nice.
I was also listening to a lot of serial killer podcasts, and the thing is, it's like, so it's like, yeah, so I kind of like, okay, what if these two lords were kind of like a combination of Ted Bundy and Ed Gein, and it's like they're like going, and on top of it, it's like they're both practicing alchemists, and it's like, it's like what it's like, and then it's like, oh, a unicorn, what could those parts do, And it's like I just started just coming up with all these crazy things, but the big image that came to me that I really, really honed in on was Egoraven in a ball gown with a dagger sticking out of her chest. And it's like, well, it's October, it's spooky season, it kind of fits, right?
I'm always reminded of what was, I forget which Avengers movie it was, where Bruce Banner's like I'm always angry.
Right, yeah. That's my secret. Yeah, that's my secret cap. I'm always angry.
Yes, I feel that 100%. It's just like that dagger in the heart too is just like, I think in certain ways we all kind of carry those around.
Right, yeah. What's funny, it has a very strange tarot vibe to it, too, as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I was like going, well, I don't want this imagery to go to waste. So it's like, I got to do something with it. But it's like, yeah, but that's the thing with these vignettes that I do in as both prose and in my sketchbook that sometimes end up on my Facebook feed, where it's like, it's just me just getting these ideas out. Mm-hmm. Just like, okay, what, it's like throwing stuff in the sketchbook, okay, this makes me laugh, this is funny, it's like, what about this idea? And then it's like, in the end, seeing what comes together and what's viable.
Have you ever thought about putting those together in a separate sketchbook and making that available to people?
I've thought about it, but the thing is, though, a lot of it is like really, really... Well, a lot of what's in the sketchbook actually happens after the main series, because the main series is done. So it's not like I'm making anything to add to it. It's the 15 issues and that's it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of stuff is me. A lot of the sketches is me like really thinking ahead, and this kind of like sets up a quandary for me as to like, when is a spoiler not a spoiler, because it's like, I'm telling you this story, and it's like, and it happens, and it requires a lot of things to happen to get to that point. But at the same time, it's like, I'm telling you this story, there's not really a lot of context to it. It's just like the overall theme that I'm going for. So it's like, is it really a spoiler? It's like the fact that, it's like, is it a spoiler for me to say that Loki's involved in this story somehow, but he doesn't appear in the main storyline at all until there's a separate story that introduces him after the 15 issues. So it's like, I could put it out, but would it make sense? Would anything make sense to people if they're not familiar with the story already? And the most frustrating thing is that I'm only up to issue 3, and it's not like issue 3 has been published yet. So technically, people only have issues 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. So me telling this story is kind of like really, really far ahead. Like it's kind of like, what the hell happens in this story? In the 15 issues where we're getting serial killers now.
Right. Well, because you're saying like it could be a spoiler, and releasing it without any context later on, that could be an Easter egg, so I mean, I think it's like tomato,
right, because
depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, because I have these short stories too that I am still working on, but like they're kind of part of the 15 issues, but they're kind of like in between stories. But and again, I'm kind of debating. It's like, okay, so how soon should I start putting these out? Should I wait until after I would like to wait for the 4th issue so that people have like that that real context with the characters that appear. but it's like, again, it's like, but would it really kill anybody if maybe I made one of the stories a stretch goal or something and sent out a PDF? I mean, it's like, would it matter? So that's, yeah.
You are one of the hardest working, most consistent creators, indie creators that's out there.
Bless you.
And you kind of stay under the radar, which is, I think, to your detriment, because people are like, they're like, who are you? It's like, wait a minute, you've been in the business for
since 1992.
Yeah.
To give everybody, that's my context. It's like, I've been doing this since 1992, and it's like, and it's always funny to talk about. Yeah, I've been in the game so long, we might have crossed paths, and you don't know it. And then people come out going, holy crap, I really do have your book in my collection.
And that was something that, because we got you over on Hive. Yay, Daphne!
Yeah.
And somebody literally posted a photo.
It was
one of your
so
covers.
trippy. I've never been on this forum before. I've never heard of it until you introduced me to it. And there's my people there too.
They're all over, but that's what I mean. It's like you've been kind of like under the radar, but you've been steady and consistent, and you're putting out content, and it's quality content.
Thank you.
So you have, it's almost, I don't even want to say like an underground following, but it's like a silent following. And I'm like, where the hell are these people? Make some noise. And I don't understand why. I don't understand why that is.
What's the trippiest thing about it is that when we were first publishing, like thinking about the amount of books that we printed and don't have anymore. I mean, that was the funny thing, that the issue that the person posted, like, I don't have copies of that book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't have, so we were like literally like counting. It's like, how many books did we sell over the years? And it's like, and JD who writes the Oswald Chronicles, and he also writes Tall Tales. He goes, oh yeah, there's at least 10,000 of our books floating around. There's at least, and that's like him doing a superficial count, because that's how many we've printed. So we have thousands and thousands and thousands of books out, so out there. It's just that, in a quarter box near you.
Hey, sometimes I go check out eBay to see what's up, and kind of cross compare what some of our friend creators are commanding on a Kickstarter compared to what it might be on a resale in auction. And it's like,
right,
like, damn, I can get a deal over here, but I obviously
not necessarily,
right? Not always.
You go over to eBay and try to get some of Daphne's original art.
You try and get some of her original art, and even she's surprised. She's like, "Oh, damn!"
Right?
Like I might not be able to
sometimes. It's like, holy crap! I can't sell my artwork at that price. How are you able to?
I got negotiations one time with a dealer on eBay or a seller on eBay. She felt like a dealer. Right. And then, meanwhile, we had started communicating. Meredith had gotten in negotiations with you behind my back for my birthday present. Which
it was a birthday present.
Right there on the wall.
Yeah.
And,
which we can't show on YouTube.
I was negotiating with the woman back and forth. And finally, she sent me it. And I think I finally talked her down to it was $245.
Wow.
And then I got my birthday present in between. And then I sent her a picture. I was like, nah, thank you. I'm good.
I'm good.
Right, yeah. and what it was that I actually remade the piece that you were looking at. So
even better.
Right.
Even better.
And I'm like, wait, no. Don't spend $300 on an eBay sketch. I did that with Sharpies. Don't do that.
But that's what I mean. It's like you have a following, and it's like, looking at some of the resale things, what people value your work with is, it's pretty impressive. And so there are a lot of people who, because you're new to them, they think you're
Yeah.
brand new, which
Right,
doesn't make
yeah.
any sense to me. But having been in the business,
Mm-hmm.
what is the trick to staying in the business? Like, how in the world
Wow.
have you maintained either the passion or the wherewithal to stay with it? Because let me tell you, I'm in year 2 right now, and it's one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Mm-hmm. Um, well, it's like the joke answer is that I have nowhere else to go. But
There is no life outside of
right,
comics
yeah,
ever.
but I think it's a combination of a couple of things. You know, it's like hooking up with JD very early on a project that I became really passionate about working on. Um, and just like and the thing and just ending up being together like that as like work like as comic partners and then personal partners, and it just like kind of grew from there. But the thing is, though, I think the thing that really did it is that I want to see the end of the story. So and also it's like I'm kind of in a unique slash privileged position where I can actually do this long term without really depending on it to survive. So I'm just able to concentrate on it. And especially in the last 10 years, well, it's like because I got laid off from my job in 2013, and since then I've been able to really concentrate, just focus on this work, and not look back and not have to. It's like, oh my god, I have to get a job. That kind of helps. I mean, it's like like some other creators, they have wives supporting them or something, I have it set up so that I can concentrate on it. I can actually do it without worrying about it. So I don't know if it's an actual trick, as it is just it required a lot of planning to get to that point, to be able to do that, and then like, okay, I don't have to work and I could just do this. Because I mean, look, and there's absolutely nothing wrong if you do have to work and support your comic book thing, and however you want to call it, like your work, your hobby, or whatnot. At the same time, we all got to do what we need to do.
Right.
It's just that I don't want to give anyone a false impression that, oh, well, she's doing it. What's her secret? And it's like, well, it's 10 years of financial planning and then finally getting laid off.
Yeah, the thing that
Yeah.
gets you laid off is like the thing that
Right.
springboards you into action.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I knew it was coming, I was already prepared for it, but I had wanted a couple of more years to prep more. But when it happened, it's like, okay, I can do this.
Well, you very easily could have been like, I'm laid off, got into a depression, and gained
Right,
50
yeah.
pounds on the couch.
Right. No, actually, when I got laid off, I literally announced, I literally announced, see ya, I got a graphic novel to finish.
Oh, freedom! There
Yeah,
goes a clothes.
exactly. Gotta
Running
go.
wild in
Gotta
the
go.
streets.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's literally how I left the place. It's like, and the sad thing is that there was like other people who got laid off the same time I did. It's like, and they were like weeping in corners, and meanwhile I'm like going, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya, it's like, I was like that. It was just like, but also it was a horrible place to work too. So,
Yeah.
it's like, but yeah, it was just like, all I could think of was like, oh, I finally have the time to finish my graphic novel. Which I think at the time was Tall Tales the Peacekeepers. So I was finally able to finish that book at the time. So it's like I already had something to dive into when that happened. And I guess the funny thing is that when COVID happened, it was kind of the same thing. So it's like, we all went on lockdown and people were freaking out. That's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? It's like everything's closed. We can't do anything. We can only like sit and watch Netflix and eat ice cream all day. And I'm like going, wait a minute, this is an opportunity.
It's like all of a sudden, all of the troll people started popping their heads up going,
exactly.
I can help.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I'm like, wait a minute. It's like, look at all this time I have. And it's like, and it was at that point that I started working on Egoraven seriously, because before it was just a hobby comic that I was just posting online whenever I felt like it. And this just turned, and I'm like going, you know what? I have all this extra time now. What am I going to do with it? How am I going to be really productive? Because at the time too, I had just done like a sketchbook Kickstarter, and then it's like I was kind of starting, I don't quite remember if I was starting another one, I think, in the meantime. So it's like I did another sketchbook, and they were doing okay, but it's like I knew that there was potential here for something. And that's what's like, you know what, let me put together Egoraven finally and put that out there and see what happens. And then it's like, so what I did, I took the time to actually to learn proper computer coloring, digital coloring, proper digital lettering. I mean, I really went all out, like really, really studying what I had to do to make this book look right. Mm-hmm. I mean, I redid the cover, I just like tweaked a lot of the artwork, and really, it's like to tell you the truth, I miss lockdown because I really did get a lot of work done. I mean, I'm still getting a lot of work done, but there's just something about everybody forced to be quiet. Mm-hmm. So it's like there is no distractions, there is no going out, there is no nothing. So it's like it was so that was the thing. So when everybody else, a lot of people got into a depressive funk over this, I was like, I'm busy, I'm going, and I haven't stopped being busy since. Like I've been determined to keep that momentum going. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You mentioned that there are 15 issues. That feels so finite for a story and a character that is growing up before our very eyes.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's like it's 15 issues because I needed that beginning and ending. Or else it's like I was just going to end up with Tall Tales all over again. It's like I needed, I needed that structure that's like, okay, it's going to be 15 issues, period. But like I said, with the sketchbook though, it's all full of ideas that come afterwards. And in fact, I have 2 books that I am working on right now, putting them together, that come after the 15th issue. So it's like, it's not like 15 is an absolute. It's like, it just ends that story arc. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, then I have like these 2 trade paperbacks, because that's also a thing that I've been thinking. It's like, okay, so everything after these 15 issues, I'm probably better off doing as trade paperbacks, because I don't want to take another several years to put out another 1 story arc.
Right.
So, yeah. And it's like, but at the same time, it seems really far for me, because again, it's like technically only issues 1 and 2 are out.
Yes.
So it's
you
like,
have 3 is done though.
15, 3 is done, 4 is done. I just finished putting together the printer file for issue 4. I just have to do the cover, for color in the cover for the trade paperback that collects issues 1 through 4. Mm-hmm. I just sent issue 5 to be flatted, so that book is already lettered, so it just needs to be flatted and colored. So issue 5 is pretty much. And then I have the layouts for issue 6, 7, 8, and 9.
You are way ahead of the game.
I need to be. because again, it's like when doing Tall Tales, I learned a lot of. I'm taking a lot of lessons from working on Tall Tales, and trying to apply it to Egoraven to not repeat a lot of the same mistakes, i.e., taking my time to do that, because it's like the way. It's kind of weird to think of it like this, because it's like, oh crap, I don't have the time anymore, to kind of like have that realization that it's like, no, I can't take another 20 years to do 20 issues. It's like, I have to get my shit together and get this story out. I mean, it's kind of morbid, but the thing is, though, it's a reality. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's like when you're in your 20s, you think you have all the time in the world. When you start hitting your 50s, it's like, oh shit.
Nita gets mad at me when I say I'm halfway to dead, but it's the truth. And I do think about my end game. I know it sounds morbid, but I have stories that are in my head that I need to get out, because it might not be my kids that enjoy it, but it might be a cool discovery for my grandkids or future generations and things like that. And if I don't get them out, nobody's ever going to know.
Yeah,
right. So in a way, it's kind of a legacy thing. I know it sounds weird. But.
I know. Yeah, it is weird, because it's like I'm kind of, it's like, because it's like, my main goal is to get the 15 issues out and those 2 trade paperbacks that I'm working on. And yeah, if I can get them out faster, I will, depending on how the schedule, like I have my schedule worked out for next year, and we're talking about issue 4, the trade paperback, issue 5, Tall Tales volume 4, maybe the Peacekeepers volume, and then like Tall Tales Tears of the Mother issue 6. I mean, it's a crowded schedule. But it's like, so it's like, if there's a way that I can get, like, if some reason it's like, if I can squeeze in issue 6, like what JD used to on his Oswald Chronicles campaigns, what he sometimes do is he doubles up issues. So it's like, that might be a possibility too, depending on how far in advance I can get this work done. Where it's like, all of a sudden you're going to start seeing, okay, Egoraven issues 7 and 8 in one campaign, It's like, but that's kind of, unfortunately that's, and it's funny, that does become a big future theme of Egoraven too, the whole, idea of mortality and immortality, it's like, and how that affects people and how that affects her, and it's like, and it's kind of like, well, at least I can put that thought process someplace where I can use it. Yeah.
Can you talk us through a little bit of your writing process? Do you think in prose? Do you go directly to script? Or do you kind of put your artist's brain on first and you kind of do the thumbnails and things and kind of fill in the blanks?
Well, it depends on what I'm thinking about and how I'm thinking about it. Because like I said, I have literally like 2 sketchbooks technically. I have a art sketchbook and I have a writing sketchbook. And depending on what visuals come in my head, kind of dictates which one I do first. Like, okay, let's take the serial killer story. It's like, that started with a visual. So it's like, I did this dopey sketch, and then all of a sudden, all this other ideas started coming out. But what that made me do is it made me go to what I like to do is write in prose. And the thing is, though, I don't write in order. I just write, like, whatever scene pops into my head. Like, okay, well, what if that happened? What if that happens? Like, it's a lot of what ifs until everything starts to meld together. And it's like, and I think, when I think of the writing for a comic, it's like, I think in prose. And I'm writing these vignettes in prose. And and it's like, I don't know, it's like it allows me to really, really think about the scenes better, and then it's like later on I can begin to pull it apart to turn it into a comic, like a comic. Like I had one story that started off as prose. It's okay, so it's like, so this is one of like the mid-issue stories. So it's a story where I play on the myth, the unicorn myth, that they can, why unicorns prefer virgins. So I did a short story based on that. And what I'm doing, so it's like, I have that story right now in prose. And now what I'm doing is that my plan is to do like maybe like an 8-page comic book story based on that. So I'm going to take the prose, separate out the dialogue, and then see how I can translate that into a comic book story.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the prose, like I said, the prose allows me to play around with the story more, but then when I go to do the comic book version, I know I have to strip out a lot of elements. So at least this way, I know, because everything's written out, I know what the important parts are. It's like, okay, this can go into the comic book page. I have some stories. There's another story that I have where it's just a short little story where Egoraven goes to the doctor for the first time. And that one was completely just a comic book story. So there is no prose for that. I just started sketching that out. I just had these little ideas, and then like the panels just flowed out. So now I'm just still trying to figure out like the punchline of the story, because with my short stories, it's like it's like I really need to be really structured with it, because I want it to have a beginning and an ending. It's like, okay, this is the end of the story. So it's like, it's not a full issue. It's just like, I think this one is like 12 pages. So it has to have a definitive ending. So when it comes to these short stories, I always think of the endings as punchlines. So it's like, that's what I'm still trying to figure out, is what's the punchline of this particular story.
Okay, so are these things where you might collect them into maybe an anthology?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's like, depending on how many I have, they're either going to end up collected in the volume 4, which it was volume 4 of Egoraven, or it's going to be its own volume. And it's just going to be all these short stories, and I'm going to try to put them in order so they kind of like make sense as a flow, even though they're technically kind of random.
Right.
So,
and like you were saying, there's an ending to them, so they can be standalone.
Right, exactly. Like, I could just send it out, and it's like, okay, so this is the one story, or this is the one story. So so definitely the idea is to collect all of these in a volume, and it also, it's like, it just depends on whether the prose ones, because they're so short, can stand on their own too, or whether I have to translate them into comics too, or whether it'll be like just all comics, or just a combination of, it's like, oh, here's a little illustrated short story, or that type of thing. I just haven't decided like which short stories can stay short stories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of blew past our 30-minute mark. We're going to take a little bit of a break. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate everyone who is watching live. We've got Mog Park in the house,
Hello.
Heather Ellen, Creating Chaos 247. What the heck are you doing over there? On Vu's here, Jonathan Brooks. We've got Mel. I have no idea how to say your last name. I'm not even going to try, Mel, but we love you and appreciate you. And we are going to, well, this has been an earwig in my brain for about 2 weeks now.
On it.
No.
Oh,
It's never going to, it never ends. Do it. Do it, Nita.
Here we go.
Hit it.
And now for something completely different. The dog is barking, the husband is home, but we've got Roadkill Rampage 2 getting ready to launch on Kickstarter. I'm going to go kill the dog. Nah, I'm not. I love her. But Roadkill Rampage 2 is getting ready to launch on Kickstarter. Make sure that you go over there and hit the notify me on launch button. The link is in the show notes. And for a 10% discount on your Gemini mailers, make sure that you use coupon code VOLT10. You can go to GeminiComicSupply.com, do some shopping, save your comics, save a little money, use coupon code VOLT10. That is courtesy of IndieVolt. Thank you to Very and Grant for using that. We are live streaming with Daphne Lage, episode 56. Thank you for tuning in. Here we go. We're back. I'm going to put up a card here, Daphne.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. I was just about to ask you about that.
I'm putting up this card. I keep flashing it all over the place. We didn't want to do that for the pre-launch, but man, it is the beginning of the abuse.
Yeah, it really is. This is the issue. Issue 3 is the issue where that train starts rolling. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Egoraven's been in your world for a while, and she's going to be there for a while.
Yeah. As
well. Okay. I mean, we're looking at least 2 years.
Yeah.
Two more years of bringing out her story. So, and we love her. We see you sketching her with the bastard Loki, you know.
Yeah, it's like disaster son, bastard, you know, Loki. Yeah, which is a completely, you know, right now is a completely very Facebook thing. So, for now.
I need to ask you though, is it tough to kind of abuse Egoraven, or does it depend on the mood? Like, you know, you're feeling particularly murdery, and so you write something dastardly. I mean,
wow, that's a funny question, because it's like, if you think if that panel surprised you, you ain't seen nothing yet. What's coming up in the next 15 issues. But you know, the funny thing is that it's like, you know, what is it? There's a tweet once where it's like someone says, "Oh, why do you abuse your characters?" And it's like, because I made them that way. You know, I made them specifically to do that. You know,
because I can't do that in real life. I don't have time for jail.
Right. You know, and the thing is too is like what's funny is that it kind of like the more she becomes a character, because you got to remember, Egoraven started off as just a portfolio mascot. You know, it's like she was just, you know, she was just a character just on my website. And it's like, and then it's like over the years, it's like, and then it's like, the more I worked with her, the more I started having this what if, and then all of a sudden I ended up with this whole story. And the thing is, though, to have an interesting story, you need conflict. And sometimes to have really interesting conflict, you have to do
dastardly things.
You gotta do things to your characters, you know, because it's like, in the end, it's like, I'm not interested in just writing what the fandom calls like a coffee shop alternative universe where everyone is just like having coffee, holding hands, and giggling at each other. I mean, it's like, no, that does nothing for me. You know, it's like, I want to see, like the example that I like to give is that, you know, like my favorite Star Wars movie is Empire Strikes Back. And the thing that's really, really stands out for me is the whole Dagobah scene with Luke, and how he really, really, really gets abused, you know, in that scene, that he really struggles, he really suffers. You know, it's like, you can tell that it's like everything, he has to work for everything. You know, and even then, it's like at the very end, he has to take a chance with the skills that he has, and technically kind of fails at the end. I mean, it's like, and for some reason, that type of story really, really resonates with me. You know, I'm not really into the, you know, the loser that finds out, you know, that he's the chosen one and then goes on an adventure. I'm not, that's not the type of story I like. I want to see struggle. I want to see, it's like I don't want a perfect character.
Well, and it's these situations that build your character's character.
Exactly.
Other than that, it's slice of life.
Right, yeah, exactly. Which I'm not interested in that either. And the thing is, though, is like, and I think that on a certain level, we connect more with a character when they suffer. When they have hardship.
Yes.
As opposed to just taking them, oh, here's a strong female character, take my word for it. And it's like, it's like, no, I want to show you why you should care about this character. I don't want you to assume anything or just like, oh, here she is. She has a story arc. She has a story, and it's like, and her character changes, over that, because that's what a character arc is supposed to do. She's not supposed to be the same character at the end that she started off as. It's like right now, it's like, she starts off as kind of like naive and sheltered, and then it's like, as she goes along, it's like, oh, you can't afford to be like that if you want to survive and you want to do what you need to do.
When writing it and figuring out what all the conflict was,
right?
Did you ever surprise yourself or go, oh my God, I can't believe it went there?
Yeah. Oh my God. There are scenes that I mean, that's also another reason why I would want to put, I want to put this out as quickly as possible if I can, because there are some scenes that I read them over and over and over again, and they still gut punch me. I'm like, girl, why you do that? It's like, it's just, it's just really, really funny. It's like, I wrote it, but at the same time, it's like these characters are just doing stuff on their own. And it's like, it's just like a really funny place to be in. And it's like, and the thing is, though, and it's like, and I really am excited to see if people have the same reaction to these scenes that I'm having to them. I mean, it's like the fact that, I mean, it's funny because it's like, that one panel where she's getting decked in the face, and it's like, it, it's, I look, I have to tell you, I love that panel. I love that panel too, but it's just funny to see how it's like, you've obviously connected to it somehow too. Like there's another scene that when you did the longer video for me, that I was a little surprised too, that stood out for you too. And that's when, she's just minding her own business, walking through the market, and some hooligans, try to mess with her, and they call her, it's like, watch where you're going, horse face, something really stupid like that, just like, just a little catty, and it's like, and for some reason, it's like, you used that in your video, but like prominently. And
we're going to be showing that. Yeah, we're going to be showing that in a minute.
And even then, and it's like, and then you used that panel where she's getting punched. I'm like going, and I'm surprised at it. Like, I'm like going, where's this story going? Wait a minute, I wrote it.
It's kind of funny too, because there, like, when you really get into a story, when you as a writer have connected with it, it's weird for people who don't write to hear that oftentimes as writers we have to get out of our character's way.
Yeah.
We're just the medium for their story. It's like, oh, you went there. Oh my gosh, why did you do that? And you're questioning their choices. And then sometimes it's really hard to disconnect and say, these are fictional characters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, it's just kind of funny because it's like, I've had some ideas come in that's like, oh yeah, that's really good, it's like that's really, really good, and then I have some ideas that come in that I'm like going, absolutely not.
And what happens when you're like, absolutely not, but the story's going there?
It's like it's like, and it's like, no, it's like they're just like, no, that is not part of the story, stop it. It's like, I'm literally telling my brain to let that part go. It's like, no, absolutely not, that is not happening, forget it. You know, I mean, I'm literally arguing with myself over it. You know, it's like, I have one particular example, but it makes absolutely no sense. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it. It was just one, like, it came in like an intrusive thought. Well, actually, it started off as a what if, and then it became an intrusive thought. And I thought about it for a bit, and then I go, absolutely not. This is not part of the story. And I literally had to fight myself with a couple of days before the thought completely left the premises.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's like, because in the end, it's like, it's like, yeah, we like to say it's like, oh, these things write themselves, but we still have to make decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's when the writer/editor brain has to come in and go,
Yeah.
oh yeah, let's herd the cats, get
Right.
the ideas back and focus on
Right.
like that end
Right.
that end
Right.
page,
Yeah.
you know. So it's like, how is that going to end, and
Yeah.
is that going to take me there? That's
Right.
really hard to
Yeah.
do sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially when the children are running amok.
Right, yeah, exactly. And it's like I've even had that with the doodles too, where I drew something out that seemed like a good idea at the time, and then at the very end, I was just like, no, absolutely not. And it's one of the rare times where I tore it out of the book and I shredded it.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I didn't want, because at that point it became an intrusive thought. But like as a drawing, and it's like, no, that has to go. That is not happening. You know, they're like, there's literally a line, you know, that happens. You know, that's like, no, you shall not, you know, it's like, thou shall not pass. You know, it's like, you know, it's like that type of thing. You know, it's like, and that's what happens sometimes, you know.
Mm-hmm. And so we've got, I think it's at 11 days to go
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
on your campaign.
Yeah.
Try to get to the second stretch goal so we can release some more trading cards and
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, I've just been saying that, you know what, let's just make it easy. Let's just make the campaign hit 5,000 and everybody gets everything.
Cool. That would be cool. I mean, and that can be done.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really well on track with doing that.
Right.
And you have a really good selection of covers here, plus backup tiers, so that people can get caught up with the story.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, because I want to make sure everybody gets the story from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
So what does a day in the life of Daphne Lage look like, as far as, you know, because you've got campaign going, you got real life going, you've got commissions going and all this stuff, and it's like, okay, do you actually leave the house? Like, how do you balance like getting out into the real world? Because and I say this because I think I was talking to Mog yesterday, and she says, so what's the weather like? I'm like, I don't know, I don't go outside.
Right. Well, you're in Florida too, so it's like you don't want to go outside.
Right. I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, I don't think I've even looked out my window, so I don't know.
Yeah. No, the funniest thing though is that, yeah, it's like, it's one of these things where it's like, I actually try not to go outside if I don't have to. It's just literally one thing. Like, I would rather, you know, like, be working. I mean, I've never had this happen before, but at the same time, it's like, because of that, I had to really, really learn to structure my time so that I can do all this work that I need to do. I mean, it's like, honestly, it's like, I only go outside if I have to go to the post office because I have, you know, campaigns to fulfill, or if I have to go to the supermarket. But it's like, if I don't have to go out, I don't. Honestly, I mean, it's like, that's actually an end result of the whole lockdown thing. I just learned, you know, it's like, I just learned not to go outside. Most people would call it agoraphobia, but it's like, you know, but
yeah, no, for me it's my comfy place.
You know, but I just learned to really like prefer not to go outside, which is kind of bad for me, because it's like I also like haven't been running the way I should be doing either. So it's like, I really need to get back into that, because I am sitting a lot and I need to really get moving again. You know, it's just that I don't want to be away from my kids. You know, I mean, It's like that's the funniest thing. It's like, I want to sit down and work on my comics, but yeah, it's like there's certain things that I have to adjust because of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, finding balance is definitely hard. What would you say as we get ready to close out our hour? It's gone by really fast.
Yeah,
but what would you say is the biggest challenge then, either as a creator or just like your work life and how you structure? What is the biggest challenge that you find that you try to overcome?
Just kind of getting the work done. It's like getting through the work, because at the same time, the reason why I need a lot of structure is because I also get distracted very easily. And it's like, if I don't do things by a certain time, my schedule starts to fall apart for the rest of the day. So it's like, I really have to focus on okay, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do the other thing, or else it's like it doesn't get done, and then it defeats the purpose of everything. It's like, I can't talk about trying to get these books out as quickly as possible if all of a sudden I'm just going to spend the whole day in decision paralysis.
Right.
Oh yeah, one bad day can throw me off my game for a month.
Yeah, no, really, and it's like, and I really have to hyper focus to keep that from happening. And that's also something that I had to develop because of lockdown. When you have nothing else to do, it's like I have to focus to make sure that things do get done. So yeah, that's
well, having talked to JD before, you guys have completely different styles when it comes to that. So do you guys drive each other crazy? Because there's something about
Daphne's all calculating, and JD's like, "Here, let's start a campaign."
There's something about I've worked with my husband in a bricks and mortar business, where we literally traveled together, we slept together, we worked together, and it's like literally 24/7.
Yeah.
Except for bathroom breaks,
Right.
and we have totally different personalities, but somehow we were able to make that work. However, I know others who are like, they're like, divorce court sounds really great.
Oh yeah.
You guys have managed to, even with the different styles and how you operate, because you do Tall Tales, you do Oswald Chronicles, you personally have Egoraven. This is your baby. How do you guys kind of balance that working relationship and home relationship? Is there a line? Is there a border there?
I always say this as a joke, but at the same time I'm dead serious. The secret to a happy relationship is separate offices and separate bathrooms.
Yeah, I wish I could get the bathroom.
It's
got my space.
I'm kind of serious about that. It's like, especially with the separate offices, because it's like, then it's like we have our own spaces to retreat into, and especially with our schedules are almost opposite. He works best at night. I work best during the day, and also he also has to balance an outside job on top of it. And there's something about being able to have your own space to retreat to and to concentrate, that it's like, okay, so I'm in my spot. It's like, when he sees those curtains close, he knows like, okay, there's something going on, and I'll wait until I'm done. When he goes into the basement to work, I'm like, okay, that's his time now. I don't I don't bother him at all, until he comes up, out of the basement, because it's like his office is in the basement and mine is on the first floor. So we literally have separate spaces to do what we need to do. And then it's like we literally meet in the middle of the house. I mean, it's, but I mean,
That's the common area. Maybe the kitchen.
Right, exactly. No, for real. That's literally what it is. It's like, I don't hang out in his office. He doesn't hang out in mine. I mean, it's like it's like I'm serious. It's separate offices and separate bathrooms. Right.
I've literally, because my husband, he knows that I work from home. So I've kind of taken up I have a tiny house, Nita's seen it. Like a third of it is dedicated to like the boxes, the comics that I'm accumulating, my office and everything. And it's like kind of the catch-all for the rest of the house. And every once in a while he walks through and he's like, when is my wife coming home? The hazards of working from home and having those office hours. Yeah. Trying to establish that is hard too, because you do work from home. Yeah. So when do you turn off when do you say, okay, work hours are done and this is my time now?
About when he comes home from work. So it's like around now. So it's like pretty much like after we're done. It's like it's going to be common area time.
There you go. There you go. And we do have a couple of minutes here. We can play the long video, or we could play yours for the campaign. I think the only thing missing from the longer one that we did for promo is a little bit of voiceover. We need to fix that.
I don't know. Yeah, because I haven't been able to decide that either. It's like, does it need a voiceover? I don't know. Because it's kind of like I said, the visuals that you chose are kind of like, really dramatic. And again, it's like it still surprises me that those are the images you latched onto, and it's like, wait until you see the next issue.
I can't wait. You need advanced readers, right?
Well, maybe.
Well, we'll be right back after we play it. So here we go. Stay tuned, because we're going to have another question for Daphne before we go, and we'll be right back after this. No, Egoraven, what kind of trouble are you getting into?
Yeah, that's
Girl,
what it is. That's what it is.
doing?
She's getting in trouble, and it's either uphill or downhill from here.
And so one of the things that we like to ask our guests at the very end is, if you're going to give anybody one piece of advice who is coming into the comics industry, what would it be?
Do the work. I mean, because in the end, I think a lot of people get distracted by everything else, like everything else around, and forgetting that you still need that comic. You need to make it past issue 1. You have to make it past issue 2. You have to make it past issue 3. It's like, tell your story. And then, you still have to do everything else around it, but you still need, everything rides on that base of your story. And it's like, and I've seen way too many people either keep redoing their issue 1 over and over and over again. I've seen people do issue 1s, and then all of a sudden it's like, all they can think about is trying to, how do I finagle this issue 1 into a Netflix deal or something, or it's like, they're like, all of a sudden they're putting out merchandising when they don't even, they're not even past issue 1. It's like nobody knows your character. How are you putting out merchandising? You know, it's like, so it's like a lot of people get distracted by the ancillary when it's like, no, you need your story. You need your foundation. So you need to do that work. You know, yeah, it's hard. It's time consuming. You know, it's the long game, but you need that story. You need to work on you need to do your work.
Because when you're finally discovered and that overnight success,
exactly.
A lot of people forget that it's been 10, 20, or 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean,
to get to that point.
Right.
It's like overnight success.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? And when the Netflix deal doesn't happen, you still have, you know, a 500-page trade paperback to show everybody. You know? So it's like, you know, you still have that story. So it's like, yeah, it's like, do your story. Do your story.
Great piece of advice. Great piece of advice. And on that note, you guys, that's the end of our hour. We are Raging with Daphne Lage. This is episode 56. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. And check out the show notes because we've got Daphne's link to her Kickstarter, Egoraven, Heir of the First Unicorn, issues 1 through 3, plus a prequel. Oh, you didn't mention the download.
Oh yes, you can, if you go to the Kickstarter, if you need more convincing, you can download a free PDF of the first 16 pages of the first issue. So
Very
it's
cool.
like, so, you know, it's like just by showing up, you get something for free.
Very cool. So make sure that you guys get over there. If you backed it, thank you. If you haven't yet, put it on your watch list and share it out with your friends. We've got all of her social media as well. So follow her everywhere. Just don't peek at her windows because that's weird. Hey, Nita.
Yeah, I got enough people peeking.
Yeah, you got enough weirdos following you. Furry art and furry fandom.
That's a whole other different conversation.
Yeah, that'll tend to do that too. But hey, Nita.
Yo.
Final words.
For my dudes.
Bye, guys. Hey there. This is Meredith Loughran with RAGIN. And I wanted to let you know that we encourage and promote independent creators and their projects through organic interaction, consultations, and more. Visit Nita and me at RAGINAVC.com for details and contact information. Hit the button.